Hello and welcome to 10 Minute Takes. This is where we give you the rating first, then we discuss what we liked and didn't like about what we just watched. Today is The Nun. Ready to rate this one?
I am.
Our rating system is either A, see it, wait for it, or pass it. So, 3, 2, 1, wait for it. All
right, this one's going to be a battle.
So The Nun is a new horror movie in the Conjuring franchise. It takes place in 1952, 20 years before the first Conjuring film. It follows two characters. It follows a priest and a sister, Sister Irene, and they go to Romania where a nun has committed suicide at a church, and they need to investigate the evil presence that is supposedly living on this establishment. And they go there with a local named Frenchie, and throughout the investigation of this particular incident, creepy, scary stuff happens, and we get a lot of interactions with the nun character. So, Sam,
this was a very highly anticipated film for me.
Yeah.
The Conjuring universe is my favorite horror franchise, so this was very high anticipation for me. That being said, I actually really enjoyed it. I also think I'm one of the few people that did. Mm. It's not a very popular film. I really like the storyline. I felt that Frenchie was a good mix for the group, and the tie-in with the nun, because they talk about the nun so much in the past, I was really looking forward to this film. And yes, it could have been better. It could have made a little bit more sense, but I really did find it interesting. I was compelled from the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
I did like it.
I have a few fundamental problems, or at least one fundamental problem with this film. I'll get into that with the dislikes. What I will say is that The Nun, when it is at its best, is really scary. It has some really good scary set pieces. When it's at its worst, I'd say it doesn't make much sense and it's borderline confusing.
Yeah. I was very proud of myself. I always have my hand in front of my eyes when I'm watching scary movies. This was probably one of the first scary movies that the entire time I actually watched everything. All the scary moments, even though you know when every single moment's coming. I watched it all. I am very proud of myself. Thank you.
Now, but I will say some of the things I did like about this film, it's well acted.
Very well acted.
The Farmiga's younger sister that's in it's really good. I was under the impression she was playing a younger version of Lorraine.
She is.
It's not actually confirmed. No one actually really knows.
It's not actually confirmed.
It's a theory that people have that this is a younger version of Lorraine, but it's not actually stated. Her name's Irene. In the actual Conjuring films, it's Lorraine. I'm not sure if they're planning on making Irene into Lorraine and she changes her name later, but none of that is addressed in this film. So
I agree with that.
But some really good set pieces. One of my favorite set pieces was Frenchie in the cemetery.
Yeah.
When he's leaving. Super scary. It subverted my expectations a few times in that sequence, which was shocking to me. Because I was expecting one thing, and the scares were came from somewhere else, and I was actually pleasantly surprised with that one.
Okay, so my favorite sequence was probably when she was praying in the church.
And that would probably take me to the things I disliked, because that was one of the things I really didn't like.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Whatever.
So, is there anything else you want to talk about? What you liked before I got into my
I think I covered it. I think the acting was really well done. Because of the fact that it was a constant jump scare movie, I liked that.
Yeah.
I very much like the storyline. I like the demonic storyline and how it came to be in this abbey. But I could talk about some of the things that we dislike, because I do agree with the things that I'm pretty sure you're gonna say, but yeah.
Okay, so things that I dislike. The major problem that I have with this film is that inside of this film, The Nun, the rules of what the nun can do is never established and it's never consistent. To compare it to another franchise, my favorite horror franchise is the Nightmare on Elm Street series. I probably watch that first one every year during October. And the rules of a Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger can hurt you in the dream and only when you're in the dream. The other rule is that you can take Freddy Krueger out of the dream and into the real world to fight back. Now, within the Nun series, or the Nun film, one of the rules that's established is that the nun can use your fear against you. Not exactly sure what the end game is. Not sure if she's trying to kill you, because that's never established. It's not established she's trying to kill everybody, if she's trying to possess people. She's just there and bad things happen. And the other thing that bothers me, the other rule that's never established, is how powerful is the nun? Is she just someone that makes you see things? She starts doing physical changes within the real worlds, but those aren't things that are set up earlier in the film. They're just very, very random. For instance, there's a set piece where someone winds up falling backwards, and when they fall backwards, they fall into a coffin and they're underground, and it's completely random.
I'll give you that.
There's no sensical rhyme or reason or explanation as to how that happens. And it's stuff like that happens, that continues to happen throughout the film, that has no logical place within this story. That really rubbed me the wrong way, that made me confused. Because when that happened, I thought he was just having a vision. I was like, oh, he just thinks he's underground. And then he's actually underground. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense, because that kind of stuff wasn't established earlier.
Right.
I don't want to go too deep into it because I don't want to give everything away.
I would agree with that, and that didn't really get pointed out to me until we talked about it after the movie. And so went back and thought about it, I was like, yeah, you're right. I guess it was a little confusing. I think there could have been more of a direct message, or a direct
I'd say within horror films, I have no problem with exposition, because that's what A Nightmare on Elm Street does. It's exposition to explain the powers of Freddy Krueger. In The Conjuring, or at least in The Nun, they have a book that they're reading that explains Valak, because Valak's the demon that's after him, but they never actually used the books to describe Valak's power and the extent of what it can do, which they could have done that to make some of the things that happen make more sense.
Right. You're right. I mean, I guess you're right. I don't know. Yeah.
So, the other issue that I had is at the end, did the nun want to kill people? Did it just want to possess somebody? What was the nun's end goal, and how was it going to get there? Because that is also not established.
I will say that something that I did dislike about it is that they didn't focus on the story more, and it was very heavily focused on jump scares. It was constant. It was every second of the way, which is fine for some movies, but for this one in particular, I wouldn't have minded a little bit more backstory. So that is something that that I could have had more of in this film.
Yeah. All right. Any final thoughts?
I kind of hope they do another one. I kind of think they could
I'm
do
sure
a second
they will.
one.
It's on pace to make like $40 million this weekend.
Yeah, I hope they do another one. That's about it.
I would say my final thoughts is, it's good on the jump scares. It's lacking in logic. If they do a second one, I hope they do a second one in a similar fashion that they did Annabelle Creation. Because Annabelle Creation last year I thought was fantastic.
Right.
Scared the bejesus out of me. I had a hard time with that film. That film was scary to me. So if they do a Nun follow-up, I would not mind a creepier approach to the Nun, because I think that's one of the things that this film was lacking, was creepiness. It was scares, but it lacked creep.
I will say I agree with that. Like, even for the fact that I can't, as much as I love horror films, I can't always. I have to force myself to watch them sometimes.
Yeah.
I will say that I didn't get scared. There was no creepy aspect.
It didn't make my skin crawl.
You just knew that when she turned the corner, she's gonna be there. The nun was gonna be there.
For instance, to compare to a creepy moment in Annabelle Creation, There's a scene when the little girl's playing by herself in the house. They
Ugh.
might be playing hide or seek, and she's under the stairs, and I think she looks over, and you see like this creature with red eyes looking at her.
I know. I
think
that
it has,
got
like,
both
there's-
of us. I remember that. That got both of us.
And it's not really like a jump scare. It doesn't lunge at you. You just see it there, and it is creepy. It is
Yes.
awful. There's no moments like that in this film, which was disappointing. Because I too am a big fan of the Conjuring series, Conjuring 1, 2, Annabelle Creation, fantastic. How would you rate the Conjuring movies? What's best or worst?
Okay, so I don't even remember the Annabelle movies. I remember the second one. What happened in the first one? Was the first one? Remind me again.
It's no one remembers.
Okay, my favorite one is The Conjuring.
Yeah.
And then I like The Conjuring 2.
Mm-hmm.
Annabelle, The Nun, and then whatever the last one is that we don't remember.
Oh, okay. So for me, it's the same thing. It's Conjuring, Conjuring 2, Annabelle Creation, The Nun, the first Annabelle. And the first Annabelle, you can just cut that off. Just bye-bye. Another creepy moment from The Conjuring, the hand clap.
Oh, that was awesome. That was the best.
Yeah.
Whew.
So,
I have my
anyways,
notes, too.
that's it for this show. That was our discussion on The Nun. Like, comment, subscribe. If you want to see more, stay tuned. We will be launching a video game show to coincide with our movies. So that is exciting. We're doing the PlayStation 4 Spider-Man. We just got that yesterday. We're very excited to play that.
Mm-hmm.
So stay tuned. The Predator is next week. I'm very excited about that one.
I know.
I might make Sam watch the whole series before we watch.
You might.
Watch.
That's not even a might. That is an is. That is what we are going to do this week.
Good. Okay, that's it.
Aw.
Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.